So for this video, I wanted to make my own tier list in order to show you guys kind of the state of affairs of where we're at right now with what characters could possibly be in the game. Unfortunately, I really couldn't figure out why Tier List Maker wasn't really, or Tier Maker, the website, wasn't really letting me do it, and I wanted to look further down at other tier list websites, and I just wasn't finding results instantly, so I just kind of gave up, and just luckily there was one on tiermaker.com that was already made and provided for me. It is created by Scrimmy is his name on the website. So I think he has a Twitter on it, but I can provide the link to his tier list. But for me personally, this is what I came up with using his, but I'm also going to reference some of the characters that I was going to put on mine that aren't on this list, but luckily this list actually did come up with a lot of characters that I already thought of, and had some other ones, like if you look at the bottom, I don't know why they're even included, but we'll go ahead and here we'll go. So first of all, we have the literally no chance category. I was going to make this on my tier list. Well, I actually, all he had was like SA whatever ranks. I actually put on, you know, the descriptions of what these tiers mean. So you can just read it and look at the picture and you can already tell what I think. But I'll explain why things are the way they are if you continue to watch. So in the literally no chance section, I was going to put Goku and Paper Mario only. And the reason why is because I just want to clarify. Like, that's the bottom of the bottom, the lowest of the low. But he actually had some other interesting characters on this list. So I went ahead and I, you know, checked them out. I added them on accordingly. Basically, I stuck all Sony characters in the literally no chance section. There will be no Sony characters. I don't care if these four are popular. It won't happen. And I also decided to put Tracer on here in case anyone still remembers this game called Overwatch. Blizzard and Nintendo don't seem to have any sort of relation. A lot of people really wanted Tracer in the game. And when Smash 4 was big, I was modding it to have... I modded Diva in the game, and I really liked it. It was really fun. But the hype of Overwatch has not only has it really died down, but the idea that Blizzard and Nintendo would really work together to make Tracer happen, it's just impossible. And the funny thing is, in the not good enough category, Heavy was almost on here. Heavy was basically already on here. I see no reason why Valve would put a character on the Switch, but I also see no reason why they wouldn't. But it's just so incredibly unlikely. But I'm going to go ahead and actually start up from the top of not good enough. So Terry Bogard, a lot of people might think, hey, he's the main character of SNK's Fatal Fury and he's one of the main characters in King of Fighters. He's kind of the face of SNK when you think of SNK. He was in the Heroines fighting game. They made a girl version of him, and they also went ahead and put Terry in a Fighters EX Layer, or EX Fighting Layer, whatever that game is called, and it's like, yeah, if SNK is going to shell out a character, they're usually going to use Terry. So while Terry might be popular in some fighting game spaces, I just don't think Nintendo wants to put in a bunch more fighting game characters. Terry makes a lot more sense than other fighting game characters, but it's just like from 3D Fighters, for example. But yeah, it's just very, very unlikely. Next is Minecraft Steve. I mainly put him here because he's already been kind of deconfirmed thanks to some of the people on Twitter who work on Minecraft. They basically have said if anyone would know if a character's in Minecraft, it would be me, and they don't have any idea if he is. Now, of course, it could be elaborate trolling, but in my opinion, if Nintendo wanted to be faithful to Minecraft, then Steve would have to move by not bending his elbows or legs at all, and I just don't think there's a moveset that could possibly be made. I think the dream of Minecraft and Smash is over, and I think it was all just an elaborate rumor, and people are kind of like getting excited behind it because they just think it's a possible idea, and I wish people could possibly look at other possible ideas and get excited behind those. Next up, I have characters from Sega that are just not good enough. This would be characters like I forget the character's name from Yakuza, which is bad because I just played Zero not that long ago. But yeah, I don't think either him or Ryo from Shenmue will be in the game at all. I don't think they have moveset potential, and I don't think Sega would want to push them. If Sega was going to push anyone else, he'd push them. But why Nintendo would ask for them or want them is beyond me. There is seriously no reason why Nintendo would look at them. I didn't mean to put Ezio in front of Beat from Jet Set Radio, but it's all the same, or Jet Grind Radio if you play on Dreamcast. It's all the same. Because also Ezio is not going to be in the game. It's just not going to happen. So on my list, I had Rayman, and I had Rayman in this category that was called Not Good Enough, was originally called Deconfirmed. Scrimmy put in his description, anyone who's a spirit is not on the list. I mean, I was going to put them all on the not good, or on this second to last spot. That was like, because I don't know if spirits are deconfirmed or not, but because I would love Rex and Pyra and I would love Rayman and stuff, but I just don't think they're going to happen because they're deconfirmed. So I don't think Ezio will be in. I don't think Rayman will be in. I just don't think Nintendo is going to go for a realistic Western style character with realistic graphics. I don't think so, especially not from Assassin's Creed, which would be really weird in Smash. It's not that it wouldn't be possible or wouldn't fit, and there's easily a moveset for sure, but it just doesn't really fit the tone, and it's not like it's that beloved in gaming at all, and especially probably not in Japan. So next up I have the character, I forgot what this character's name is, but this game he was in recently came out on the Switch, and I think just because it came out on Switch recently doesn't actually matter. I know it sounds like I don't know anything about this character, but I have him higher up on here for a reason. I just don't think that just because he has one game, World Ends With You, we have one little game, and that's supposed to mean something. That's supposed to mean this character is allowed in the game. I'm just not seeing it. Next up, I have Klonoa. Now, Klonoa would be awesome, but it's not going to happen. It's just so unlikely it's not going to happen. Then we have like really random ass characters here. Like I said, the heavies down here. All these characters are really tied for last. Like the girl from Puyo Puyo and the girl from what's that game called? Oof. I can't even remember half these characters' names from games. So then it's like, how the hell would you expect them to really be in the game? I know Professor Layton's down there. This is the girl from Bravely Default. Yeah, no, this is not real. Like, these characters aren't happening. Their best bet is to be assist trophies, and for Bravely Default girl, her best bet would really just to be a fucking spirit. But a lot of these characters just don't have what it takes. Next up, I'm going to start from the top of unlikely that Nintendo actually wants these characters. So these characters here are characters that could be good, have moveset potential, could, have fan demand. Fans do want them in. But for some reason or another, they just aren't really seeming like they're going to be in the game. Up here, I also had a few other characters that aren't on this list. These include Solaire from Dark Souls. This includes Cuphead, because why would it's a brand new indie game, so why would Nintendo want that? This is also where I would stick Bandana Waddle Dee and Dixie Kong. I think they're not on this list because they're deconfirmed from Spirits, but we don't know for sure if they are, Spirits are deconfirmed. So if Spirits didn't deconfirm characters, it's just unlikely that they would put these characters in now. I feel like if they were going to be in, they would have been in already. They would have been in the base roster, and we wouldn't have had to wait for Dixie and Bandana Waddle Dee, who became Spirits. And, again, if Nintendo wanted them, they would have just stuck them right on in. This is also where I would have put Gino, except I'd probably also put him in not good enough. Because either way, but my point is that like it just doesn't seem like Nintendo actually cares about this character or wants them. Again, if they wanted to put the character in, they could. Clearly, Geno is a spirit, so they have access to Geno. If they wanted Geno, then they would just put him in the damn game. So it just doesn't seem like they really want the character. So that's what I all had here. I also had Terra from Final Fantasy VI. That was a popular one. A lot of people wanted. If you look at Black Mage, I'm going to pretend that Black Mage also doubles as Terra from Final Fantasy VI because it just, again, if Nintendo wanted them, then why would they not, like, then let's put them in, you know. If Nintendo wanted them, then go ahead and put them in. So I think that's everything that I would have also had added in to put in here. So let's go back to the actual tier list, and I will say this. So for Monster Hunter, this is a character that I was going to put on mine for sure. A lot of people talked about this, and I made a full video about Monster Hunter. If you haven't watched it, I'll briefly describe it right here. It doesn't make sense that they would want to put in Monster Hunter when they already have Rathalos in the game. You know, that's like if they put in the Persona stage and music and then said, wait for the character to come later. You know, it just doesn't make sense. I know they're supposed to come with stages, so it's not the best example, but it's too bizarre. You know, if you're going to include, oh, okay, imagine this, for example. Imagine if they put in the Castle Dracula boss battle where you fight Dracula and then didn't put in Simon Belmont, and all the music and the assist trophy and the two characters, you had to all wait for that. You know, it just doesn't add up. Rathalos is even in the World of Light. So again, they had all the time in the world to make Monster Hunter as a character. It would have fit perfectly with the boss. So to me, if the character was going to be in the game, it would already be in the game. And it's the fact that it's not already in the game, it's really looking like it's not going to happen. I know a lot of people want it, but it just doesn't make any sense to me. After Black Mage, which really, again, it just doesn't make sense that I don't think that they would want another Final Fantasy character. At least not for like a mainline one that isn't 7. I know I have Noctis a little higher, but I'll explain my reasoning for that. After that, we have some Namco characters, including Lloyd, Heihachi, and Nightmare slash what's his name from Soul Calibur? I can't remember his name right now, but you know, Nightmare from Soul Calibur. And the reason why I have these Bandai Namco characters here is because, again, I feel like if Namco Bandai was going to get another character, it would have already happened. Sakurai has said in an interview before that Heihachi doesn't fit the character movements as well as other characters. He doesn't really make sense for Smash. And if you think about it, Ryu does fit the movement. Ryu fits really well. But also, you know, I would love Heihachi in Smash, especially to fight Ryu. And I think his moveset is possible. I made a video defending this. But I honestly think that that's why it's unlikely, but it's really high up here. It's just really unlikely. Next up that's unlikely are all the Capcom characters. I put Phoenix Wright in front of Dante. But really, the reality is that all of them are equally as unlikely. Dante is probably the most likely of them. I'd probably put Phoenix Wright after Strider Hyrule, actually, but I think I just kind of threw him up there last second. Either way, Dante, I made a video about him, and I mentioned Leon in that video. I was going to put both Dante and Leon on there. I just think that they're not necessary, and there's no reason for more Capcom representation. I don't think Nintendo wants to represent Capcom any further. I think that Ryu, Ken, and Mega Man is plenty enough. Like, Morrigan has literally no chance. That's not happening. Strider could be cool. Beautiful Joe could also be really cool. Phoenix Wright could work. And, of course, Dante and Leon would be awesome. But, again, it just is like, if it was going to happen, well, first of all, it doesn't seem like it would happen because Devil May Cry doesn't really mesh with Nintendo. But, you know, I mean, I know Bayonetta's on here, but Devil May Cry's never been on a Nintendo console. That doesn't always matter. But it's just like, it just doesn't seem like the right fit, right choice right now. You know, I feel like if Dante was in the game, it would just be Bayonetta all over again. So I just don't understand why anyone would even want that in the first place. But I don't think that we need to include every hack and slash character who's really cool and edgy. I feel like Bayonetta already serves that role, and it's just because Devil May Cry 5 came out and it did well doesn't really mean anything. I think that again, most of these characters are mostly disqualified because Capcom doesn't really need any more representation or characters, and I don't think Nintendo really is that crazy to want to represent them. I don't think Nintendo really cares to represent any of these characters. Um, Next up, Crash Bandicoot. I know it's a really popular choice, and I know Crash is on the Switch, but the thing is that I don't know if the moveset is really there, and Crash isn't really as legendary as people seem to think, and I don't think Nintendo looks back at him and thinks that he's like as big as Sonic. And that's the thing, is Crash Sonic tier level of popularity? No, but Mega Man is, Pac-Man is, but Crash really isn't. So Crash really doesn't deserve it. Honestly, if you had to say the best two possible characters to represent the PlayStation, you would probably say Snake and Cloud. You probably wouldn't say Crash. Because Crash had a series of games, sure, but I mean, those were not the killer apps on the PlayStation. People might seem to think so now, but just because Nintendo and Sega have awesome and lovable platformers, I almost said 3D platformers. Sega doesn't have those. No one loves 3D Sonic, but just because this game is full of platformers doesn't mean that people, that is all it needs. That doesn't mean it's all it takes. The reason why I have Banjo up there way higher than Crash on this list, there's a big reason why, and Crash just isn't really there. It just doesn't add up. Next I have, I just call him the Dovahkiin or the Dragonborn or whatever, but the main, basically protagonists from Skyrim. They would probably just name him Dragonborn or whatever. It's not unlikely. I was going to put him on my list as well. It's actually very possible, but what's unlikely is like if Nintendo cares that much to put this character in the game, especially with the fact that Elder Scrolls 5 is kind of already outdated and the next Elder Scrolls game is most likely on the way. Will Skyrim really stand the test of time? I actually don't think so. So I don't think he will be in at all. The reason why he's not right next to Doom Guy is because I actually had Doom Guy in the not good enough category and then decided to put him back up here, and I'll explain why, but let's talk about 2B first. 2B was another character that I had on my list originally, and it's interesting that so many people really want her and talk about her. I think her role, I think she's much better fit for a game like Soul Calibur. I don't think just because you're a guest character in another game doesn't mean you can't be a guest character in Smash. But her, first of all, there's no way they're going to get a T rating unless they censor her what's up her dress. The same way they had to censor Bayonetta, the same way they had to censor Palutena and everyone else. That's how it works. You if you want a certain rating, you can't show a certain amount of skin, and you also can't show like panties in general in the game. That's a T rating only sort of deal. So Smash, I don't know if Smash rate T or E10 and up. I don't remember either way. They have to follow a strict rating guide. It's based off the Japanese rating more so than the American one, and you just can't get that rating with a character like 2B. I know Bayonetta's in the game, but she's heavily censored. 2B would have to have her design pretty altered, and that's not the worst thing in the world. It's really not. Just like how they altered some of the characters from Fire Emblem and Xenoblade 2, they altered Mithra's appearance to an appearance that she never appeared as. That way it was less sexual. Same with Camellia from Fire Emblem Fates. But so it's not like they couldn't do that with 2B either. But even despite all that, I just don't think her moveset translates that well to an interesting and new character. I think it would basically just be a generic sword character, and people would want her in the game because of popularity reasons versus functionality reasons. And this is also a character that's not a lasting character who might stand the test of time, and I would argue Joker from Persona 5 actually is. I think some of the people are making more outlandish claims because they don't realize how important Joker is. Because they have their own preconceived notions about Joker. But Joker in the Persona franchise actually is huge. Persona is here to stay. It's Shin Megami Tensei. Shin Megami Tensei. It's the most important Shin Megami Tensei game. Is the Persona games are, and it's Atlus's bit bread and butter. It honestly is one of the most important games in as far as JRPGs go. And Persona 5 has really brought new life into the genre in general. So, and Persona 4 and 3 weren't that far behind. Those are also very beloved games. So, I don't think people always realize why Joker's in the game. And just because Joker's in doesn't mean 2B's getting in. That's not how that works. Here we have the new Fire Emblem character. On my list, I was going to put Garuki in from the new Pokemon game, but this works as both for me. I actually don't think Nintendo will want to put them in. I think that if they do get in, it'll have to be because the games are coming out around that time. So it is possible. They should have been in the pipe, but possibly messy section. But the reality is, I don't think Nintendo wants to advertise their own games here. Though, I mean, it's possible. But I just don't think Nintendo wants to do that this time around. It seems like they'd rather go for like these other choices. But, honestly, if you want to put her in the hype but possibly messy section, I honestly probably should have done that myself. Too late now. So... Let's move on to Chrono from Chrono Trigger. This would be super hype. He's only from one game, but that doesn't mean anything. But really, it's just the fact of the matter is that there's no reason to really want Chrono, just besides the fact that he's a classic game character. But you're better off just sticking with a Final Fantasy character if you're doing anything from Square Enix. Chrono really only had one game, and it was a long time ago, and while people still remember the character, he might be a bit too obscure for everyone to enjoy. So sadly, I just don't think Nintendo would really want this character. And not to mention, it would be a hassle. Fulgore, no. I know Microsoft and Nintendo are being friendly right now, and I have other Microsoft characters a lot higher on this list. Just no to Fulgore. It's just not, I just highly doubt Nintendo would really care to put in a character from Killer Instinct. It would just be so confusing. Next up is Porky from the Mother series. Whether he appears as his Mother 3 appearance or maybe his Mother 2 appearance, aka Earthbound, a lot of people have been wanting this character in. I think when this tier list was made, it was made around the time when people really thought he had a chance because there wasn't like a sticker for Porky. I think there actually is one for him now, though. I think I remember seeing one for him. Either way, Porky is just probably not happening. It's just really unlikely that Nintendo would care to put in this character. I know he was a boss fight in Brawl, but Mother 3 had just come out at that time, and it was a boss fight for Lucas, and Ness helped Lucas fight him. So it really, when you really examine that, it just doesn't make sense they would actually put Porky in. I know if they treated Mother like they loved the franchise, then maybe Porky would be in, but it just, to me, doesn't seem likely. Even if you believe that they'll do a Mother 3 re-release on the Switch, it just doesn't seem likely. A lot of people really liked Lara Croft and wanted her in here, so I didn't want to put her in the not good enough section. But I just don't think Nintendo actually cares about Lara Croft at all. And really, has Lara Croft even been on Nintendo console? But of course, that's not all that matters, but she's just actually not at that level of hype that people think she's at. A lot of people who really want her, I think, really think it makes sense to them, but to me, it makes no sense at all. And honestly, the only reason she's not in the not good enough section is for that reason. Now, like, it's, again, these last 4 characters are all kind of like that. Like, people want Spyro, and I'm like, dude, no, Spyro really does not have that level of hype behind him. So, Nintendo really doesn't really want him. This next character was another character. This is an actual first-party Nintendo character. It's a villain from Metroid. This is where I would put, like, Dixie Kong, like, why would Nintendo care about this character? It doesn't make any sense. Lastly, I have Doom Guy. Doom Guy is a character that people really, really want, and there's a lot of fan demand for him. But in my opinion, he's not good enough. I have him on Unlikely at Nintendo once, and the reason why is because, yes, while he has a move set that could potentially work, it would be probably pretty boring, as well as nonsensical and not fun. While Doom Guy has movement options that could work, there's just I don't know. It's just the fact that he has, only guns that shoot bullets. There's a reason why Snake doesn't do that. You could give him the chainsaw and the rocket launcher, sure, but a lot of his guns really wouldn't work. If you base it off the newer Doom game, I think that game makes the bullets look more like lasers anyway. So there is a possible way to do it. But at the end of the day, we're talking about a character who has a punch animation, but it's just one punch. It just seems so unlikely, especially when his name is Doom Guy or Doom Slayer. He just doesn't really fit the mold here. And I know people say, well, Doom is a super iconic game. Yeah, I mean, I agree. Doom is a popular game, and I played it a lot when I was a kid. Doom was definitely one of the first shooters I ever played, and one I continued to play for a long time. But it's just not Smash material, and I think Nintendo knows that. I think people just really think that Bethesda will have an input in the game, but I think that Nintendo wanted to become buddy-buddy with Bethesda because they wanted Bethesda on their Switch. I don't think it had anything to do with wanting to get close enough for them for Smash. And the idea that every single thing Nintendo does revolves around Smash Bros. Characters is kind of ridiculous, to be completely honest. So, to me, it's just not really there. Now, next up, we're going to talk about, well, a character that people think is very similar to Doom Guy, and a lot of people seem to want him over Master Chief, but I am going to say hype but possibly messy for Master Chief. Now, let me explain why. Master Chief could work. He has a moveset that could easily work. He doesn't only rely on bullets. He could use plenty of different diverse weapons from the Halo universe. He has plenty of melee attack options, and he has a colorful, look to him with plenty of potential for looks and great map potential. Basically, he fits the design of Smash perfectly, with also, a lot of the problems I have with Doom Guy, I don't have with Master Chief. And I know a lot of people might be saying, oh, do you just like Halo more? Again, no, I grew up playing Doom. I think they both, I like both the games, don't get me wrong. But I think Halo has more personality with his character. I think Halo has more, traits with his gameplay that would lend itself better. When you talk about Doom, you almost want to say, I don't know if a first-person shooter could be in Smash. How could you represent first-person shooting in Smash? Well, Halo might, figure out a way with its very good way of movement that kind of translates well to where you kind of know how the character will play out. But again, also just a really good, diverse set of weapons that could easily work and fit in. Again, he has guns on Metroid's caliber. Anything Samus could use, I think, could easily clarify that Master Chief could use one of the Covenant weapons or one of the Brute weapons or possibly even the Forerunner weapons. So to me, Chief has none of the problems that Doom Guy has. He's a much more fleshed out character, and the only reason why it might not happen is because we still don't know how far Microsoft is willing to push this idea of Xbox games on other devices. It's possible. It's very possible. But I don't want to say for sure if it could happen. But that's why he's number 1 up on this list. Next up is Sora. Now, Sora, Sephiroth, and Noctis are all kind of tied in the same spot, but I personally think that Nintendo would want to choose Sora over Sephiroth and Noctis, and I honestly think Nintendo would choose Sephiroth over Noctis as well. I understand that Noctis is, a main character from a different game, and Sephiroth is just a villain from Final Fantasy VII, But something you have to also understand is that Final Fantasy, Square Enix actually does love to sell us Cloud vs. Sephiroth. And not only that, but if Sephiroth was added to the game, this could be a way of paying for some of those songs missing from Final Fantasy VII. It would be kind of strange if Final Fantasy VII got 2 stages, but it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Because they'd be from the same franchise, that music would be on both stages, so that could be really well. Basically, Square Enix is possibly charging Nintendo a ton of money to get Final Fantasy VII representation in Smash, which is why we don't have any. But also, the reason why these three are up here is because they are designed by Nomura. I just uploaded a video about why Erdrick from Dragon Quest is actually looking not like it has a good chance. And it's mainly because of this reason. It's like, again, these characters are possible, but very messy. So we really don't know. And so yeah, it's just really strange, and we just don't know for sure. Next up, oh yeah, and also the reason why I have Sora above everyone is because he is the main character of Kingdom Hearts, and it would make sense for Nomura to ask Sakurai to put him in as a personal favor. Now, Nintendo's choosing the DLC, but Nintendo could have put Sora on the list of characters that they want potentially in the game, and Sakurai would look at Sora probably in front of other ones, especially if he is starting to become better friends with Nomura. So it's like they're not. It's not that everything adds up like the top tier section. It's just that it's not quite there. You know what I'm saying? Square Enix is still really iffy to the point where no Square Enix character could ever possibly be in the everything adds up section. So Sora's down here, and I think Square Enix is so iffy to the point that Master Chief actually does have a better chance of getting in the game over Sora. That doesn't mean if Sora happens, Master Chief happens, because Banjo could delete Master Chief's chances. But I'm just saying, it's not quite there. Next up, let's talk about controversial opinions. I have Sub-Zero and Scorpion kind of tied at the same spot. I kind of did this because in tier lists it's common to see Echo Fighters together, but of course, if they did Scorpion and Sub-Zero, they would not be Echo Fighters. Personally, on my tier list, I put Scorpion on here because a lot of people talk about Mortal Kombat representation. If they chose any character from Mortal Kombat, it wouldn't be Liu Kang, it wouldn't be Raiden, it would be Scorpion. He's the most popular character by far. Sub-Zero is also a good choice, but again, you couldn't do them as Echo Fighters. You could do, unless they wanted to make their A attack moveset completely the same, with all the same stats for their running and jumping and weight and power, and make everything equal, the same exact thing, same exact attacks, but then change all their special moves, then they can't be Echo Fighters. So it would be like even more crazy than what they did with Kin. Now, of course, Kin has a different speed than Ryu, but it would be like, Kin is literally a semi-clone. I don't know how he's considered an Echo Fighter. I think he's only considered an Echo Fighter because if they called him a semi-clone and said he was a brand new character, then other companies would have been pissed off. I literally think they only call Ken Echo Fighter because they just took Ryu's moveset and Ryu's character and tweaked it a ton. They could kind of do that if they did Sub-Zero, but it would be even more unique of an Echo Fighter than Ken. And it'd be to the point where, why don't we call Pichu an Echo Fighter anymore if Sub-Zero exists, you know? So I don't think that they'll do Sub-Zero, but that doesn't matter. The point is, Mortal Kombat representation is right here. And that is because it could happen, but I'm not betting on it. Mortal Kombat is coming out on the Switch, don't get me wrong. It comes out a little bit before this new Persona announcement. So it might be coming out around the same time Nintendo's planning to release DLC. Now, I don't think it matters. I think that if people from NetherRealm talk to Nintendo, I don't think Nintendo would care that Scorpion is from a violent M-rated game. I really don't think they'd care. Everyone knows Scorpion in Mortal Kombat, and a lot of people play Smash grew up with these games. Again, Nintendo markets Bayonetta and Metal Gear Solid and soon to be Joker from Persona all in this game that's rated like for kids. So to me, it's actually perfectly reasonable to expect Scorpion in the game and without any blood at all. Swords are okay. Impaling people is okay, as we could see with Ridley. So it makes sense that they could actually pull off Scorpion in the game, and it would honestly be completely fine. For some of you who don't realize this, Bayonetta not only has like blood and gore in it, Bayonetta you have like guillotines that chop people's heads off and rip people in half, and I mean you torture people pretty badly in that game. And not only that, but with Metal Gear Solid, there's you can shoot people in the head and blood spurts out and hits the ground. You can grab people and choke them out or snap their neck, or in some of the games you can take a knife and slit their throats. So the idea that a character is too M-rated, to me, doesn't add up. The main reason why I have them not up here, or not on Everything Adds Up, is because I don't know how Nintendo and NetherRealm's, aka WB's, relationship is. I don't know how far they'd be willing to take their relationship to get Mortal Kombat in the game. Now, it seems like there's nothing wrong with it, but at the same time, and also, of course, these characters also have the history to where it could easily possibly happen. But the only reason why I have them under the Square Enix characters and Master Chief is because I am not so sure about their relationship as a whole, and if Nintendo would even want Mortal Kombat characters. I know what some people are saying, but they have the history in video game history. I know a lot of characters on this list who are below them also have history with video games. It's not always about that, but I will recognize that they have a much higher chance than everyone below them. Next up, I want to go ahead and just get this out of the way and talk about L Block. This was a popular idea started from GameXplain. People accuse GameXplain of having insider knowledge when they just denied the Grinch leak. The reality is that they just didn't believe the Grinch leak because they really thought that Kin and Kin and Incineroar were going to be in the game. I don't think they decided that there won't be any more characters than just those two, but there were other theories like the box theory that happened, as well as the box theory was kind of had more weight thrown to it by the little DLC card theory that was like a pre-order thingy that Nintendo put out in Japan that had two blank spots in the same area that the box had. So the box theory and a lot of other theories led to that, but also a lot of people have decided if there's only going to be one new character and there was one blank spot next to Ryu, and we have that really that leak that was Kin, that picture image leak of Kin that was leaked, that was real. That was straight up a real picture of Kin. The hairstyle literally matches what Kin looked like in the game. He was doing a pose that's literally what Kin can do. So I know a lot of people were also complaining that Pichu looked like he was too big in that picture, but Pichu actually is pretty big, mainly because his head is enormous. Like he's only a little bit smaller than Pikachu, because Pikachu's like kind of like his whole body is his character, but Pichu's like a tiny body with a giant head. Pichu has been enlarged, so he's not completely bullshit. Of course, he is still bullshit. Most people still hit under him, especially when he sprints, but that's not the point. That's just Pichu is actually that size. So that Kin leak was real. But to get back to L Block, I know I kind of went on tangent. GameXplain really hyped the idea of L Block up, and I think a lot of people thought it was possible. I have the Puyo Puyo Girl way down there because honestly, that was so silly that people even thought that was ever a thing. It's like you don't see Wonderful 101 on here, but a lot of people really think Wonderful 101 has a chance. That was like a Wii U launch title. That definitely has no chance. Okay, maybe it had somewhat of a chance of Smash 4, but it was just reduced to a trophy you look at. Not even a this trophy, just a trophy you look at. And there's a good reason why, because it was just a Wii U launch title, man. It doesn't mean anything. The L Block, I think, would be much better than all of these other characters below it. I think it actually has more weight to the argument, but how it could possibly be messy is that I don't think people would like it very much. I think that it would be Piranha Plant times 10, where people would be so mad, and to the point where At this point, they already bought the season pass, so there's not much we can do about it. But I think it could rub a lot of people the wrong way. So I just don't think they'll do that. If they do L block, it would be better off in a free update. But I don't think it's going to happen. And I didn't put it in literally no chance section or not good enough section. I put it really high up there because it actually makes sense. Nintendo actually, there's Tetris music in Smash already. Nintendo actually likes Tetris and has no reason to not do a Tetris block, but it's just super super unlikely at the same time. So that's where it becomes messy. Lastly, in this section, I have Sans and the human from Undertale. I think the human actually does have a name, but I'm not exactly sure what it is. Either way, a lot of people always reference putting Sans in. The funny thing is that I thought this character would just literally have no chance, because people started to say Sans before it was even on the Switch. Then, when Undertale was announced for the Switch, people started to actually say Sans actually has a chance now. I don't think they'd put Sans in. I think they'd put in the main character from Undertale. I don't think they... And usually, these characters have to represent their actual in-game playstyles, and Undertale... How do you represent Undertale's playstyle with a character? In a fighting game, it doesn't really add up or make sense. This is where Sans would actually fit the role better. Though I do think it's funny if they did do an Undertale character, they could make him possibly based more so off of like just attacks from the game, and some of them be Sans's, and then put Sans in as an Echo Fighter. It might be not be the most accurate representation of Undertale, but it's the only way I could see them doing it. The reason why they're not on Unlikely Nintendo Once or Not Good Enough, and why they're on this high, because I'm not even an Undertale fan. I'll be real. I think I think it's really overstated and overblown how much love these games get. And I say these games because of what I'm about to say, but I think that people just adore these games so much that they forget like that they're not perfect. And for me, I have so many problems with these games that I don't enjoy them. And part of it is because I don't care about the sense of humor. I don't think it's that cute or funny, but I don't hate them either. It's just that I've already experienced so many meta games in my life. I love Metal Gear Solid, for example. So meta humor with games isn't, it doesn't always impress me. I do appreciate it, but the rest of the humor in the game isn't really that up my alley either. It really is made for like a nerdy community. It's made for nerds by nerds. And I respect what it is. I really appreciate and respect Undertale, but it's just not for me. And I'm still putting it this high, and I'm only specifying that so people don't think I'm just a huge fucking fanboy for putting them this high. The reason why they're this high is because Deltarune's demo is coming out on Switch, and I think it's Deltarune Chapter 1 is coming out on Switch. Deltarune Chapter 1 is coming to Switch with which makes me think that they're going to do multiple chapters of Deltarune on the Switch, which makes me... And it seemed like Nintendo actually... They didn't talk about this during their, like, Nindies showcase. Like, when they showed Cuphead, for example, they actually showed it, like, during the Direct that had, like, all the other announcements, like the Zelda announcement and stuff like that. So, again, I think it's actually very possible that they're in the game, that these two are in the game. And that's kind of crazy. But I couldn't quite put them in the everything adds up section because I think just their moveset is not quite there. No, these three are up here for a reason, and everything adds up. Because there's not a single factor that holds them back. These are not who I particularly want. But I was going to put all three of them on my tier list for a reason. Everything adds up here because these are three characters who are all very hype and popular and a big part of gaming culture. These are all three characters who have a moveset that would work 100% perfectly. These are all three characters that have history with Nintendo at one point or another. And these are all three characters whose companies currently have a sparkling good record with Nintendo in their relationship. Team Ninja probably by far has the best relationship out of these three companies with Nintendo, as evidence from the um, Hyrule Warriors game and the Fire Emblem Warriors game. Hyrule Warriors did so well that Nintendo wanted them to do it again for Fire Emblem. That says a lot. Then, doesn't also hurt that Ninja Gaiden is famous for being on the NES. And that is why if you buy NES Classic, you can play Ninja Gaiden. And that is why if you buy the online service, all those free NES games, two of them included are Ninja Gaiden and the special version of Ninja Gaiden. So it really is no secret. It really makes perfect sense why Ryu Hayabusa is my number one pick. And it's only based off logical evidence. Obviously, I also would have had Joker up this high as well, but the reality is that some of these picks have to come from lower parts of this tier list. Some of these characters might not make it in. Travis and Banjo both have a high chance of making it in. Hell, even Ryu Hayabusa has a chance of not making it in because he's not the most hype character of all time. But there's a real chance that someone below them could get in. But what I'm saying here with this part of the tier list is that there is not a single reason why they wouldn't get in. Nintendo could go for some more bold decisions and more bold choices, but I think the defense rests for these characters. Travis, of course, we know he's literally all of his games were on the Nintendo consoles. Travis Strikes Again just came out, but does that really represent Travis Touchdown? I know that it was on the Switch, but it was like a little indie game in a way, and it paid homage to a lot of other indie games along the way. However, Travis could be really cool because he's a big fan of video games and a big fan of other nerdy things. He's a fan of pop culture, a fan of wrestling, fan of robots and stuff like that. He could easily have a super unique and good moveset. Easily. Especially when you look at all the moves and abilities that are in No More Heroes. If No More Heroes was in the game and he had all of his music backing him, it could be really good. Now, I haven't actually made a video about what if Travis was a DLC, much like how I have all these other series about if Travis DLC. And I'm going to need to correct that soon. Mainly because I thought because he had 2 Wii games and whatever didn't mean much. But if No More Heroes 3 is along the way, and Travis Strikes Again is not just the end of his franchise, I think there's a real chance for Travis to be a household name to the point where he'll be as big as some of these other guys. And they have 4 more slots. They can't just do only 2 more characters or, whatever. There's going to be a character that they're going to have to trust and also someone they'd want to push. And it seems like Nintendo and Suda51 are they having a sparkling good relationship to the point where when the Switch was announced, they had Suda51 on stage talking about No More Heroes, talking about Travis Strikes Again. So I think it's, beloved franchise with Wii fans. I think Travis's character and personality fits in with Smash. I think his looks fit in with Smash. I think his weapon fits in with Smash. Obviously, he's a sword user. And I think his moveset fits in with Smash. And again, Suda51, Nintendo are tight. So it makes total sense. Lastly, Banjo. Again, I already explained all 3 of these characters have perfect moveset potential. I already made a video about how Banjo could easily work. Rare and Xbox and Microsoft have said that Nintendo have worked together with Rare titles before. It's not a problem. And with Xbox Live coming to Switch, with Cuphead on the Switch, but apparently Microsoft is the one, they told the Cuphead developers to make Cuphead for Switch. Microsoft themselves said to do that. I don't think that is representative of Cuphead being in Smash. I think it's representative that Xbox knows that people want Rare and they want Banjo in Smash. And I think they want to let Nintendo have it. And I think Nintendo might want to do it, especially if Microsoft seems so gun-ho about it. I feel like normally I would not say that this character has this high of a chance, but in this last year, 2018, leading into 2019 so far, it seems like the stars have aligned. It seems like everything is in the perfect place. Banjo might not be able to be in the DLC for the next game, but it seems like it's possible for this game currently at this time that Banjo has a real chance. And if it's only DLC, it might mean that we don't have to, we don't have to bet that for sure Banjo will be in the next game. So it is actually very possible that this character will happen. I have him behind Travis just because he's still owned by Microsoft and we don't know exactly. But honestly, at this point, I feel like Microsoft will for sure put a character in Smash to the point where it's got to be Banjo or Master Chief or possibly someone else. A lot of people have also mentioned Steve, of course. It's got to be one of those three. And I'm leaning the highest towards Banjo. And I'm even thinking they might do Banjo and Master Chief both. So, honestly, if you look at my, first 4 or 5 choices, those are who I really think will be likely DLC. I think you could possibly delete Travis or delete Master Chief. But I think that Sora and Sephiroth both have a chance, more so Sora. And I think that Ryu, Banjo, Master Chief, Sora, and Travis, one of them will get in. Which one, I don't know. But I think those are really my top choices right there. And I'm going to need to make a video about Travis Touchdown soon, because I think it's actually a lot more likely than I originally gave it credit for. Anyway, this is a nice hour-long tier list video. People used to really like tier list videos when I was making them for Smash characters. So I like those actually got some of my highest views ever, and those are actually not even very good videos. They're not very good tier lists. They're videos and tier lists that I completely disagree with now. But either way, so I wanted to do something like this though, mainly because I wanted to talk about all the possible choices instead of making a few one-off videos here and there, because I already made every one-off video I could, but I also wanted to really specify and show people who has a more likely chance, because I've thrown out a lot of ideas. I've talked about how Heihachi could work really well. I talked about how I think Sora is very possible, but I'm very glad I'm specifying to people right here, right now, that Ryu, Travis, and Banjo are on a placement above everyone else, and that some of these other choices like Scorpion, Sora, and Master Chief would be true what the fuck moments that people would be raising their fists for. And the thing is that these what the fuck moments would be some of the most hype. And that's why, really you should be looking at everyone in the first 2 top rows. But I think that it's so likely that at least 2 of the characters from my very top tier will be in. I don't think it'll be all 3, but I do think 2 of these 3 will be in. Honestly, to me, it's a toss-up between Travis and Ryu. But it's very possible that Banjo might not happen, and if Banjo doesn't happen, then it's probably going to be Ryu and Travis. Like I said, I'm not sure if it'll be all 3 of these guys up top. Because they could do Scorpion. But if they don't do Scorpion, then yes, I'm looking at you, Ryu Hayabusa. I just don't think they'll do both ninja characters as DLC. Either way, there's a lot of factors to consider, and I don't know, there's a lot of things to consider here, but that's who I'm really looking at. So this is my list for possible DLC characters. So yeah, there you go. And I'm going to end it right here. I'll see you guys on the next one.